Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Alula Pro Roundtable. My name is Courtney Wolf. I'm managing editor at STM Magazine, and I'm here with a great group of industry experts who are eager to provide their perspective, as well as tackle the necessary steps to get through the looming 3G sunset. It's on our minds, and I know it's on yours too. So that's the topic of today's discussion, the 3G sunset. Let's quickly go around the table and provide our audience with a bit of info about yourselves and the security companies you operate. And let's start with Russell.
Thank you, Courtney. I'm Russell Vale, one of the founders of Alula. I'm a self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur. I've founded over 10 companies in my 40-year career. Most of the entities have been in the security industry, which I think makes it uniquely qualified as far as being an installing dealer at one time, a central station, a funding company, and now a platform and manufacturer. So been a little bit of everything. I've served on many security industry boards. I'm a board member today at Alula, an executive vice president of market development at Alula, a professional security platform company. And today is a really interesting, roundtable as an end-to-end provider for services in the professional security industry. We look at the sunset as a very serious event. And this is an interesting opportunity for our dealers, and it's a scary time as well. I think one of our award-winning products, our BAT Connect, is uniquely qualified to help the dealers with this particular sunset and offer some options that they may not have had before. So this is a very interesting time for dealers. And we've got a great set of panelists. I consider them all good friends of the industry and good friends of mine.
Thank you. And John, do you want to go next?
Sure. To follow Russell, the serial entrepreneur, absolutely. Courtney, it's such an honor to be able to be with you and these other folks today. Look forward to it. I was not a serial entrepreneur. I was just a flight attendant with Delta Airlines and didn't even know how all this alarm stuff worked. And figured out later I did fit the entrepreneur world when I realized that's determination outpaces fear. And I had more fear that I did not want to fail when I started the business. And so I'm the owner of Loud Security Systems. We started back in 1995. And here we are, I guess 25 years later, we're about number 85 on the STM list. Such an honor for us to have broken into the top 100 a few years ago. We have a little over 11,000 customers and with a little over 60 employees. So it's been an interesting as our growth throughout the years and going through analog to 2G to where we are today. So certainly welcome the discussion. I'm honored to be able to serve as vice president of ESA, our national association. Have served on our local board for many years and have worked across the nation with so many of our dealers on different challenges from false alarm relation issues and partnering with SEAC and many of those different initiatives. So an honor to be with you today. Thank you, Courtney.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean. And Sean, do you want to take the helm?
Sure, thanks, Courtney. And difficult to follow John and Russell, and fortunate enough not to have to follow Sean at this point. So I'm CEO of Alarm Connections, which is formerly known as Alarm Funding Associates. We're a network of local alarm companies, and our purpose is to support these local alarm companies so they succeed. We do that with funding for all types of needs, like growth, expansion, acquisitions, and also for less frequent items like 3G upgrades, partner buyouts, ownership transitions, and things like that. In addition to our funding, we provide a number of other benefits for our dealer partners, including exclusive pricing on equipment purchased through AlarmX and ADI, call center and technical support, and access to peers for sharing of best practices. We're run by experienced industry professionals, and we fully understand the challenges and opportunities that partner dealers face on a daily basis.
Thank you. And other Sean, would you like to take over?
Okay, my name is Sean Holman. I'm with Quality Alarm Systems here in the Panhandle, Pensacola, Florida. We're low voltage integrators, specializing in security. Came into this industry about 7 years ago, didn't even know it existed. Took to it like Kong on Skull Island, and just fell in love with it. I was an installer and technician in the field for a few years, and then now I'm the ops manager over here. So it's really cool. We've had, I don't know, it's just been a really cool run, and just loving everything that we do over here. This whole industry is, I like how it's constantly moving, constantly shifting, changing, evolving, and staying abreast of all of that is just cool. It's a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. My bio is so short compared to all of you. I sort of stumbled into the industry about 2.5 years ago when I got my job at STM, and I've just been so lucky to be able to cover the security industry since then. And now we have a lot to cover today, so let's get started. And let me turn it over to Russell, from Alula, who can explain what's at stake here for dealers across the country and the industry as a whole.
Yeah, thanks again, Courtney. Yeah, today, our industry is protecting 30 million homes and businesses, and we're a life safety group. There's no doubt about that. And we protect, seniors, we protect hospitals, we protect homes, we protect businesses. And we have to live in this technology world, which is very fast paced. And one of the things that is our biggest challenge within the industry is these sunsets. And we heard John Loud talk earlier about AMPS as part of that first sunset. I had a central station during that first sunset. I know what the challenges are for that, and even as a dealer before. It's really difficult because this disruption in service is not what you want as an alarm company. You want this stuff to work for forever. And unfortunately, with these technology changes, you have to upgrade these systems. And there's a misnomer out there that they're taking these towers down. It's technically not taking them down. They're just changing the technology underneath you. And the caution that I give every security dealer is that when they announce a sunset, sometimes they believe that it's the end date that they have to worry about, but actually you really need to worry about today. And because they change these technologies within the towers, sometimes you lose a little piece of that network. So you may have some outliers that now go dark. And so you have to always be vigilant and watch that. And so we suggest as a company and to the industry, since we've been through several of these, that we communicate with our customer base early and often. This is one of those that, old school thought was you never talk to your customer until you really had to. The thought today is that we really need to communicate early and often. And this is especially that particular case. And as a platform company, we look at what technologies we can offer our dealers, our partners here, how to work through this particular sunset and the difficulties that you have to go through. And one of the biggest options that we suggest is selling through this sunset. Taking this sunset, lemonade and, sunset lemons and make sunset lemonade out of it. And upgrade these systems. So communicate with your customers, let them know what's available. They may have had an old system installed and they had a communicator on an older system that may have had an old keypad. Tell them that they have touchpads available and actually give an upgrade path for these customers. And what you'll find is the customer base will respond. They'll upgrade and actually pay part of this sunset upgrade that you have to deal with today, rather than burden it all on yourself. So we think this, although a terrible thing to have to go through, it is also an option for you to upgrade and really do something great for the industry and for your customer base, and keep those account bases fresh. I mean, let's get new agreements with our customers. Let's engage with them. Let's tell them what's available. Let's take all that old technology and upgrade it for them, and let's help them out. So let's make this an opportunity and not just something that's very scary that we have to deal with. and have to change out from a 3G or CDMA technology to the latest. And we suggest, and what we were pushing is multi-technology. So not just cellular, don't get in that box of just cellular. We believe in cellular and IP. And that has a longer shelf life than anything else out there. The internet's not going to sunset. So that's our suggestion. And so when we build products and services, we keep that in mind. So as a customer of Alula, a partner, you have that capability of selling either cellular, IP, or both. And you can switch between those technologies. So we try to be as flexible as possible, and we try to give the dealers as many options in which to help their customer base upgrade. So take this scary time and make it an opportunity. But to do that, you've got to engage early and often with your customer base.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Russell, for getting us started there. And let's bring in the other panelists here. In the field, how are dealers tackling the 3G sunset, and what's your strategy? And Sean Holman, if you wanted to start us off here.
First, I'm gonna go with what Russell said. Communication. That is key. I mean, and that's the case with everything. I mean, communication is the starting point of everything in existence. So I've seen this sunset as a three-pronged issue. The first, like Russell said, communication, getting with your customers. As a dealer, we all have portals that let us know who needs upgrades, like where we have to go. So you get in contact with the customers. That second part is making that sale, contacting them, find out who needs it, contact them, make that sale. And then third, get the equipment installed. So it can be challenging getting with all of these people, especially if, like with us, we had about 800 that we needed to get upgraded. And I got on the ball immediately. I did not wait. And I've whittled this down, but it's challenging. It's challenging to get in touch with all these people, to explain to them what exactly is going on, because a lot of people are just ignorant to it. They don't fully understand. Getting them to go with the upgrade really isn't a problem, because by this time we've embedded ourselves into their day-to-day routine. So it's something you have to address with them, like, look, this is technology's moving forward. Everything's going. So let's move forward with it. Continue to enjoy all of the cool products and offerings that we've got in your house, and just kind of making it happen. And then getting another challenging part's actually getting the equipment installed, because you're adding on a lot of workload. So getting this scheduled in along with all the existing service and jobs and stuff, that's proved to be an undertaking as well. But if you can get all three of those things under control, it'll go well, and it's working out very well for us, at least on our end over here.
Yeah, that's great. And, there are so many different ways you could sort of approach this, a lot of moving parts. So does anyone else want to share their company's strategy in dealing with these upgrades?
Sean, I've got some things I'll throw in.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
The question was, I guess we knew this is coming. It didn't just surprise us in 2019 and 2018, we knew. And just like right now, I'll tell you, hey, guess what we know? Probably in 2027 or 2028, it's going to happen again. And the real tough part is, the reality is, when are you going to start to set your plan? And although, you set a plan, and guess what? People put together game plans all the time, and the game plan has to change. You got to be nimble and change and modify to the subscriber base, whether it's residential, commercial. The thing that I love about having Sean Forrest and Russell on this call is that they deal with dealers across the nation. And I'd love to hear from them before we're done some of the best practices. They've seen some successful conversions that have been good at it, and maybe some that didn't go well. And I'll give you back, we started back in 2018 with the dialogues on our management teams. 2019, we started to actually deal with the conversions. And yeah, it's tough because it's very early on and nobody wants to make an investment when you deal with something that's happening in 2022, you know, so when you start talking about what those potential deadlines are, the opportunity for us is as we were coming through 2019 as a company, we began our evaluation and who's that right partner for us and what's that product, what's that solution, what's the team, the technology, and the support we're going to do. And I'll never forget the day. It was January 27th, and we had of 2020 our business continuation planning as we were getting into the pandemic, and we had already isolated that for us it was going to be a partnership with Alula, and for us to identify the right product for say, okay, and then it was a matter of saying, hey, Ryan, Andre, we need 500, get 500 over to us to get started, because we knew we needed to keep our workforce going. And if you really think, Courtney, the biggest challenge that Sean, and we all have today, it's really workforce. Never mind this project, this opportunity that's on top of us, which may be upgrade and sell through this situation here, as Russell was talking, but there's some aspect I remember so well finishing the analog, finishing the 3G conversion, realizing that, wow, I just gained a whole lot more workforce back in my schedule, an opportunity to go grow. Yeah, the frustrating part, and this is where I applaud all your listeners and viewers today that are taking the time to kind of maybe get some nuggets from all of us and to say, okay, how do I persevere from this? And we'll get through some good specific examples here in just a little bit, but it's that plan that's right. It's the partnership with the product, the technology. Sean even talked about it earlier, is making sure you've got the inventory, and then you got to match the team and the call. And we know we all struggle that everybody wants to wait until the last day, and technology, workforce, everything, it can't work that way. So we've created unique challenges or approaches, if you will, that I'm happy to share in a little bit as we get this dialogue going, but I'll throw it over to Sean for us.
Yeah, thanks, John. I agree with all of that. We have a unique model in that we have partner dealers all over the country, and they are the people responsible for service, installation, upgrade, sales on an ongoing basis. So our approach has been, we've long been a believer in a proactive customer visit, and we actually pay and incent our partner dealers to do proactive customer visits. This is a great opportunity for that. Essentially, we're trying to, in a time when there's not an upgrade, we're still want our partners to visit and resell the value proposition. And in this case, you're reviewing the technology because there's an upgrade involved. But the biggest opportunity here is exactly that. We're going to be in front of our customers face to face, talking about the value proposition of their security system. It's much less about what exactly the technology is between 3G and LTE or even dual path. They want it to work, but they are also interested in what provides value to them. And what provides value to them is the huge proliferation of great new products that have come in the industry in the last 10 years. And fortunately for all of us, a lot of the big companies are advertising a lot. And that helps all of us because the awareness now of cameras and video doorbells and upgrades of smart home things on the residential side, and of commercial access control cameras, interactive capabilities on the commercial side, the customers are interested in learning about those things, and they may have doubts on whether we provide those things. They've seen a commercial maybe for Ring or a commercial for ADT. They haven't seen a commercial for one of us. John, you may have run a commercial, but we don't run any commercials, and I don't think Sean does either. But so being in front of them gives us that opportunity to show them that we're professionals, we have all the right products, and we can make the installation easy for them. So I see this as really a great opportunity, led by the fact that we'll be face to face with our customers.
Absolutely. Yeah. And John, are you seeing your competitors offer incentives on upgrades? Is this, a very competitive process right now?
I don't know who shared to tell you to ask me that one, and it goes with what Sean just said. I got to share with you guys, and you're going to be glad that you're not in the Atlanta marketplace, but there is a company, a large scale company, their monitoring rate is $16.95, and they're over lots of radio stations. They had an absolutely epic, ideal, perfect 60-second radio commercial. You ready for this? They talk to their customers and say, hey, we have this technology upgrade. They explain about the cellular communication path, and they're going to reach out to them soon and let them know at no additional cost, they're going to come out and take care of all their loyal customers, and looking forward to that dialogue to get them taken care of. If there are other customers out there, other alarm companies, and they're getting calls from their company asking for a 1-year or 3-year contract extension, or they want $200 from you, we would love to welcome you into our family and offer you our same low monthly rate, and we'll upgrade that technology for you for the same cost we're charging our subscribers, and that is free. So call us today. And that's in a 60-second spot. I mean, it is, I wish I were done with all of ours where I could have the time or the money to go. And that's something that had been in my mind. If you ever had that opportunity, it's an ideal scenario. So I can imagine the phone ringing, which then, you know, Russell said it early on and Sean said it earlier. It's communicate early and often. You own that relationship. You are that key trusted partner. And it's not just about when we deal with the conversions of these, but it's the customer call cares, it's the newsletters, it's the social media, it's all the rest of it, so that when this happens, they may hear an offer from somebody else that, sure, you may have to match every once in a while, but you're going to retain the recurring revenue as opposed to lose it for that. So from that standpoint, there is definitely in the Atlanta market some large scale advertising that does spur probably many others to adjust their price points or certainly adjust their scheduling and get after it.
Right. And let's shift a bit and, look at how the industry has seen Americans investing in their smart homes, especially in the past year. Everyone's at home and looking at things. So as Americans continue to spend more time in their homes, are you seeing customers recognize the value of having a very smart home? And Sean, first, if you want to take that one.
I can start with that one. The answer is absolutely. We're seeing it really on the residential side as well as the commercial side. The commercial has some disruption depending on what area of the country you're in, whether you're occupying your commercial setting or not. But the awareness of security and the interest in getting things right has certainly heightened. On the residential side, with most of us being in our homes a lot more than probably than we'd like, but certainly than we have ever been before. There's an interest that's really going across many industries, and security is one of them. Everyone wants upgrades. If you go to a building store and try to get materials, or you're doing an addition to your home like I am, it's really a terrible time to be doing that pricing wise. But security is an important staple of people's lives, and the more that we've added convenience items to enhance the value of the security system, people are interested in them, and we're similar to the upgrade process. We're seeing customers asking for those things, and that it's really providing a great opportunity. If we just talk about an upgrade of a 3G radio to LTE, that doesn't sound very exciting or something I should pay for. If you're selling me something along with it that modernizes my system or puts a new front end on it, like we're using the Alula Slimline touchpad as an upgrade, well, that seems like value. The fact that it's going to communicate into the future is something I expect, but if I can get something interesting to put on my wall or counter that makes my system better, or now I can operate it through my smartphone, now that's value.
Yeah. And Sean Holman, what's your approach to system upgrades while having a conversation with customers? And are you adding RMR to accounts right now?
Generally, by the time a customer has first contacted us, I've already sold the farm to them. So I try and get all of that done upon first contact. Let them know everything that we offer. Dump it all on them at once. Let them know that it can be done incrementally, so it doesn't have to all be done at once. And I find a lot of success in just coming out the gate with it. Now, as far as these upgrades are concerned, I haven't seen a lot of improvement upon people's systems with the upgrades. So that's generally because on the front end, I've already beat them up there. So there are some instances where some people are going with cameras, adding cameras or thermostats or light switches and stuff like that. it's always a conversation to be had. I mean, anytime you talk to a customer, which that's what I do all day, every day. I'm constantly on the phone, and you just are always educating them, informing them, letting them know. And this sunset actually does provide an opportunity for you to touch base with a lot of customers that maybe you haven't talked to them in a while. Maybe you haven't had to have a service call over there. Their system's been working fine for the last 2 years. We haven't had to go out there. So this opens that door back up, give you communication with that customer again, revisit their situation, ask, look, are you guys good with what you have? I mean, can we expand upon what you're doing over there? Make your life a little bit easier in some aspects. And I've found that as long as you're continuing to talk to people, you're gonna do well. You're gonna do well.
And, looking at residential customers versus business customers right now, what are the differences in, their reactions to the sunset and what they're looking for right now?
The reaction is kind of, what is it? What? I don't know what you're talking about. So there's always a little bit of a talk there, letting them know. And as far as on the business side, they just want it to work. They want to make sure that if something happens, a call's going to go out and police are going to show up. So from the business standpoint, there's not a lot to be done there other than let them know. And then they say, yes, come immediately. Let's get this taken care of. The residential is a little bit more of a conversation. But again, really haven't had any problems getting with people, talking to them, and just moving us forward with the sunset.
Right.
I would echo what Sean said. Our commercial customers are much more in tune with what the system does and how it works, and they don't see themselves as having the option of not having it work.
No.
And they're also much more accustomed to paying for the work that's being done, as opposed to residential companies and companies like John's running into in his market, who are giving everything away, much less so in the commercial end. So we're about 40% commercial and 60% residential, and our partner dealers that are doing commercial upgrades are typically making a profit on each one of them.
Yeah. And John, do you have anything you want to add about your experience with that?
I'd echo, we're the same as Sean, whereas we're 60 resi, 40% commercial, and you're right, the commercial definitely willing to pay it. But let me bring you through a step of kind of some of our approach, just to give real nuggets with it. In the early dialogues is we typically are going in at the $199 type price and kind of having the dialogue, the communications. This is emails, letters, newsletters, all different pieces to kind of get that phone to ring. Or then when we start the outbound, we've had a multitude of activity to have that. And then we kind of, sometimes obviously need to drop down to that, $99. Well, let's cut it in half. Let's get you scheduled today. Let's get that going. We also, in our typical programs over the last several years, ultimately dropped down to a $49 activation and a $5 lease as an option. So instead of you paying for that, let's roll a truck, $49, $5 a month. And we all know the math here. If we sit there for the next 3 years at $5 a month, there's $180, $49 activation. When the next one comes out, they've paid $280. I've retained my RMR. So now we'll get into the real news of it all and the sad reality of what companies face, and not fun or overjoyed, but in the last one we did is you come down to a $0 lease, which is a way for us to identify on the front end who are those customers that we've kind of been through this with and know we're not going to get $199 or $99 and we're going to be lucky to just hold on. So we knew going into this program, we had 700 of those identified, so that as we started to deal with our scheduling from other normal installs or service calls or other things going on, to kind of pick an area of town to be able to say, well, whether it's commercial or residential, for us to do that. So by far the commercial space has been the easier. Even when we did that business planning continuation meeting, it was really knowing that throughout this pandemic, not everybody's going to let you in their home or in their business, but with us dialing nonstop, we've had a huge success to be able to continue to stay on that factor of it all. But that's an approach that has worked for us. I wish I had $0. And we've even had folks, when it comes down to it and they want to leave, we do put in there, obviously, if they're leaving to, go to another provider, whatever, they're either returning the device to us, or we have a $400 fee in there for them to pay us. So, and we do, even though the technology is not valid for us anymore, we're still the same thing. Get the product back to us. We've kind of done this on an agreement with you that we're not going to charge you on the front. So remember, this is not a contract. It's an agreement that we go through very clear as we're going through those multitude of options. Not that it's our desire to cash flow and carry all that, but it is a vital piece for our, from the business model aspect.
Absolutely.
Courtney, I'd like to step in on a couple of items. Like you mentioned earlier, best practices. And one of the things that a lot of industries have done, especially in the cellular industry, you look at some of the carriers and all the people selling handsets, that's their main business. And that's what keeps us in this kind of a crazy loop. But if we use some of their words, nomenclature of what they're saying, if you're calling your customers and say, you have an award because you've been a loyal customer of ours for X, years, and therefore we have a special to go into the 5G upgrade, you can get this for only 199 or 99 or something of that nature, where they see, hey, it's normally 299. If we were to put this in and we send somebody out to your house, we do this. Also, you have the ability to sell an upgrade, and I'll keep throwing that out. And I believe Sean Forrest had made this statement one time, that we're selling ones for tens. And you want to be in that situation where you can get that done. And a 1 for 10 means that the cost to you is a 1, but the value to the customer is a 10. So if we can get to that kind of a conversation, and Sean's done a great job at that at Alarm Connections, where he said, look, I can come out and sell a $299 touchpad. And to a customer, they're thinking, man, I bought an iPad, it cost me $899. They're going to send somebody over to the house and put in a touchpad and do it. Well, at Alula, when you buy the Bat Connect, it gives you the capability of taking a very old system, something that's got a yellow keypad on the wall, it's starting to yellow, and the customer's been bombarded by all these slick interfaces that they've seen. Now you have the opportunity to completely upgrade a system, give them a Bat Connect with a touchpad for a very low price. You could say it's normally $599, but you've been awarded this because you've been a loyal customer. We're going to do it for $399 or $299. And that's that idea of this, 1 for a 10. And, I thank Sean for that. That was awesome. For it. But there's 3 major school of thoughts on this cost of this sunset. And everyone in this call has kind of touched on 1 or 2 of these items. But you've got the best option is get your customer excited about investing in their home. Get that upgrade done. And I think John Loud's done a lot of that. Sean Holman's done some of that. Sean Forrest definitely is exciting his dealers on that. We hear that through their dealer base, and get them excited about those upgrades, because now they can take that yellow keypad off the wall. They can put a new touchpad, or they can get that video doorbell. They can integrate it within their application. All of that stuff is more exciting, much more exciting than telling them, by the way, your communication is going to fail and we can't monitor you anymore, so you can't send us the $30 a month. That's not necessarily a great conversation. But if you can change the conversation into this upgrade, then you're in a much better spot. So that's one school of thought. The other school of thought is you can engage with, to pay for your sunset, is you can engage in a company like Alarm Connections and say, hey, I want to get into a funding program where I can fund this, terrible cost that I've got to go through. And Sean's done a great job in educating his dealer base on what they need to do, and that site visits, which I think is awesome. And the last school of thought, and it's the most unfortunate, is that I've run out of time. I've got to do something. I'm just going to upgrade them for free. And that's a tough one. So if you could look at that tier of what you need to do to your customer base, best practices is get them early and often. Let's get those upgrades going. Let's get them excited about their security.
Yeah. Thank you. And the last topic we'll discuss now is how the solution once and for all lies in technology, and how can the industry get itself out of this sort of endless sunset loop. So Russell, do you believe that technology can get the industry out of this costly and time-consuming constant loop? And what are you hearing from your national professional partner network?
Yes, I mean, this is like my question. If I was ever going to write it, that would be it. So yeah, this crazy loop that our dealer base is in, our partners, I mean, I see this suffering every decade. And John Loud said it best, hey, in 2028 or 2027, we're going to go through another one. And so it's about the technology. And as a technology provider, this end-to-end provider, who bring equipment and services together, this is something that we do. And this is something I've studied for years and years. So please, for the love of God, if you're going to replace your account base, don't go to a single threaded technology. That's rule number one. Don't just do cellular. Do cellular and IP, and that's what our Bat Connect product does. It does cellular, IP, and IP is either Ethernet and Wi-Fi. That's extremely important, just to say that part. So you have the capability of monitoring by cellular, by IP, or both. So you have that technology upgrade. So when 6G comes along, as John Loud said in 2028, and we start talking about it, you may not be able to buy a 6G radio at that time, but you're going to hear about it. And then customers are starting to think about it. And then dealers like John Loud and Sean are going to hit us up and say, what are you going to take care of us on this next one? Well, if you would have put IP in, your conversation with your customer base changes immediately with that particular conversation. Because now you're not saying, hey, we can't monitor you anymore, because we're already monitoring you with IP. So if you lost your cellular, we still have it. So your option is this, ma'am or sir. You have the capability of keeping your current system just as it is. Your applications will work, your monitoring will work, everything that you're used to, your notifications will all come to, we just lost one leg of your communications. But as an option, we can send you this module in the mail, and you can plug this module in and we can upgrade you to 6G. That technology exists within our market today. And that's why it's so important to think about that IP section. And a lot of dealers need to realize that the change with 5G is very interesting, because now for the first time, there's a lot of homeowners that will have 5G routers in their home. So we have a 5G router, which is IP within the home, and cellular outside of the home that gives you 5G. Now we're going to take another cellular radio and put in the cellular system. Or could we just do an IP communicator and communicate with the cellular unit? And that's what Alula is all about, bringing that value to our dealers and partners and getting them out of this crazy loop. Please get out of this crazy loop. And there's only one way to do it, and that's get into the IP world, because the internet is not going to sunset anytime soon.
Courtney, let me throw something in there and throw this back to Russell at the same time. So, the true reality is, look, I start the company in 1995. There's cellular, but we're not using any cellular. It's really all about landlines. And when we started talking about these IP communicators, Russell, what are we talking about? 6-8 years ago?
Yeah,
9 years ago? IP communicators.
Yeah.
And when that was all first starting, remember how unreliable residential IP communication was? Well, really, we were dealing with DSL. And then you got to go power it down, power it up, and we've lost connection. Let's try to reconnect. And so unreliable that cellular became the complete real leader of it all. Now, when you look where we are today, and will be in the years to come, the bandwidth and the residential applications are so much more resilient, you don't have the issue. Even though there was a risk factor on the side of the home and business that somebody could come up, cut the line, and then go break in. And my thinking as we forecast to exactly what Russell just talked about, and you may be, if you invest right today, that you may be actually coming to possibly the last time you run on this treadmill, because if you do get the IP communication right, and you deal with it going to 6 or 7G down the road, to some extent, what's the rush? What's the urgency? Why do you have to take on the burden of the cost when the IP communication format is there, other than the key of communication? And I think if you're communicating after you complete this install and upgrade, and remind them what they have for technology or what your company has for a solution, and that is internet and cellular. So when this comes down the road, and the question that you're going to put in your newsletters, and you're going to inform with folks with letters out there, say, do I have to upgrade? I hear this radio commercial. Do I have to upgrade? Well, the answer is, you know what? We advanced and went into the technology that was there. And because as long as you've got a strong internet provider and you're still there and communicating and testing your signal through, you know what? You're good. And the likelihood, if you partner with Alula at that time, guess what you also have? Interactive services. And with interactive services, now you've got to be able to get this connectivity. I'm reducing my attrition, and provided the right central station you're working with, hopefully you've got the texting communication going on where you've got false alarms and you've got all that coming back to the phone, that you really don't have that disruption. But it's setting that plan, getting that right partner, the technology, and then that communication, that's the early and often. So what piece are we missing there, Russell, from when you think of 27, 28, that from where we are technology wise today, is there some other tweaks that are going to have to be required at the same time that a 5G may be shut off?
Yeah, you're not. I mean, it's if you're with IP, and that's why we're jumping. You're dead on. And I do want to correct something. We started our first communicator in 2007, and it was IP.
Okay.
Only. So we started as an IP company, and we built a purpose network that was all on internet. So today it's the same way, but we have cellular as well. So we just added the cellular component to it. But you're right, the longevity of this is much better. And so I would pose a question to Sean Forrest with this one. So when he's valuing account base, and he sees that a company has used a communicator that has dual path, like the Alula Bat Connect, does that change, how they view account bases when they look at the value within that customer base? I mean, if you have to replace a cellular radio within 2 years, is Sean's company going to pay you, 3 years for it? Of course not. It's going to be a whole different conversation. Sean, what do you think about that?
Well, you're absolutely right, and we and others in the industry are getting smarter about this. Some would say a little late for it, but we're getting smarter about the ongoing costs of things like a transitional upgrade like this, and our the Bat Connect we think is just a great product, very versatile, dual path. Inexpensive and easy to install. It sort of hits all of the items that we and our partner dealers are looking for. And then the longevity is something we don't always consider at the time of install, but we have to look out that 5 to 7 years, whatever it happens to be, and look for something that is versatile. And Russell, I think you're right in terms of the future is everyone's home internet is so much better than it ever has been, particularly after the pandemic, and we're all on Zoom from our homes. Everybody's upgraded the bandwidth, they've got new routers, and now with 5G coming on, that's really a much better network to attach ourselves with than it was back when John was starting to put things on IP.
I think the other thing, if you heard from the federal level, the discussion about this infrastructure bill, of which there's, what is it, 600 billion is going towards internet and rural broadband, which helps all of us from the subscribers that are dealing with landlines too. So that's another great opportunity for all of us in the coming years.
I do want to clarify another item about the reliability of the internet, and it has come a long way, as John said. I mean, now everybody's on a Zoom call. You didn't have that opportunity in 2007. It would have probably been pretty bad. Now it's a lot better, and we monitor that network closely, both cellular and IP. And today I can tell you that our IP connections are solid or more solid than our cellular connections because we're constantly communicating with the IP side of that. And just to let everybody know, the IoT world, the Internet of Things, start with the internet. And so you're going to see a lot of companies, Verizon, AT&T, and others, that are going to be bringing this new broadband to the home, but that's going to be a cellular router that's going to be a 5G. So let's look at that. So let's get that right technology. And our technology is 5G ready right now. And with that IP, we're even more solid. So it's an IP world, folks. Let's embrace it. Let's get on it. Let's get out of this crazy loop once and for all.
Well, and here's the concerning part of the reliability. And Russell, you'll remember the day we randomly met at an ISC West show. Had never met him before. By the time we were done, we ended up purchasing 100 units from him because it was IP thinking. You know, because of the reliability and the inconsistency of that time of the internet DSL, as I mentioned, you know, it comes back to subscriber agreements, right? The limitations of liability, the protection that's in there. If you just deal bad with POTS lines, I had no ability to control somebody's POTS line, whether it got hit because there was an accident around the corner and the telephone pole went down, or they didn't pay their bill. Everything that's out of my control. Just like in this case, the subscriber is going to manage and maintain the fees associated with that communication path, which if you spell out clearly there, and you can have this go back on that backbone, and there is a failure that goes on that's, you know, to their part, it's just like losing the telephone pole and the POTS line. So I think there's some legal mitigation that you've just got to reassure yourself that you've got that in there properly. But it still helps us for that 28 other discussions down the road, depending upon where the technology is in the home and what that communication path is, that it still works with our technology, but it does take away that urgency back to the whole thing about how long are we going to continue to spin on that same wheel. So,
well, you still have that same liability with your cellular carrier regardless. So, you know, we have to rely on somebody else's communications platform. I mean, there's no doubt it's Verizon, it's T-Mobile, it's AT&T, it's whoever. Same thing with the internet service provider. We still have that. And you're right, John, to point out that we need to make sure that our agreements are spelling that out, set those expectations up front.
And Russell, well, you're exactly right. But at that point in time, we knew how unreliable internet was and how strong we felt cellular was. And every one of us on this call has endured cellular outages of every single solitary mass carrier there is out there. So there's nobody's got that bulletproof vest for their cellular. So we know it's not that it's going to be a never, it is. And it still comes back to that protection, of course.
Yeah, and now, you know, getting to sort of the meat and potatoes, how much does this update end up costing the average dealer? Does it cause a significant strain on the business with product costs, labor costs, all of the things that entails?
It does. The good news is that at Alula, we have a sunset program that we actually rebate our customers the cost of the unit when they bought it at a distributor. So that right there, you know, we're committed to our partners. We want to help them the best that we can. And that's the best way we know how to do that. We'll actually cover that cost of that unit with our rebates in our system and our sunset program. And I think that's very, very helpful. It gets our dealer down the road and gets them really comfortable with installing Alula products and being on our back end. A lot of other carriers are not doing that. And I think that's an important, you know, commitment that Alula has made to our partners. We're going to continue the commitment through this sunset. So that's a great question. It's something that we're going to do to help our dealer base to take care of that.
Courtney, I'll add in there, while you got a great partner like Alula and those rebates and so forth, they're helping us reduce that cost. The cost is huge, but there's huge benefits too. I mean, one, it absolutely forces you to have dialogues and communications with your customer that, you know, if you back up 15, 20 years ago and we stuck our head in the sands and just kept hoping that check comes in, hope whether they're using it or not, doesn't matter, right? So it forces you to be better caring to your customers and have that communication along the way. Sure, are there upgrade opportunities? Yes. Are there massive opportunity cost lost? Absolutely, because I would rather be rolling all those trucks today that are going to do these conversions and upgrades to be going out getting new RMR from me than it is to just sustain and retain whatever the RMR factor is. So while there is lots of cost, I think the experience of the alarm subscriber across the nation for all the companies engaged in this probably comes out better, more enhanced in the quality of it, as well as the technology that's there to help us reduce false dispatches and be better community partners with our police and the taxpayer resources that are done.
So John, thinking about your situation where you're at, say, for example, the 6G rolls around and now you've got all your Alula IP communicators and cellular communicators out there, and someone tells them about this upgrade, you could tell, well, we've already taken care of you. And now we have the opportunity to help others, like your friends. That changes the whole conversation, doesn't it? All of a sudden, you're not in that crazy loop because you've got a trusted partner in Alula to be able to go and grow that and not have to worry about it. And then Sean doesn't have to worry, Forrest doesn't worry about the cost of that upgrade for his dealer base, and they can consider what do they do to help promote other upgrades to their customer base. We're changing that conversation, and we're doing that through technology. And I'm glad you asked that question earlier, Courtney, because it is about the technology. We are a technology leader. We're getting after that, and we've built a product that's universal in nature. It fits with a lot of different control panels. It's a great product. We consider it a communications platform. It's not a communicator. There are a lot of people are selling communicators. We're selling a communications platform at a communicator level. So it's a whole different ball game when you're looking at this particular technology.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for providing insight on this very important topic. This discussion was great, and we really appreciate you sharing these best practices as we navigate this challenge together and also find the opportunities. And also thank you so much to Alula for hosting.